Welcome, the anointed ones, lying on a chosen one. That's not just burning bridges, it's igniting the entire spiritual courtroom. Let that sink in. Here's a truth many can't bear to face. When they opened their mouths to spin tales about you, they didn't just indulge in gossip. They entered a realm of consequences. And now they're keeping their distance, not because you're a threat, but because they unwittingly shared their bedtime story with someone who sees the truth clearly. Here's a fun fact. Studies show most people can't even recall the lie they told last week. But the chosen ones, we carry receipts in spirit and in silence. And remember, silence doesn't equate to safety. It means a case is pending. So when you notice people suddenly ghosting you, avoiding your name like it's laced with curses, don't jump to the conclusion that it's just awkwardness. No, my friends, that's guilt doing the electric slide. They aren't afraid of confrontation. They're fearful because the person they misled is now silently watching you and uncovering that you are the truth they overlooked. Grab your tea, or better yet, your armor, because this isn't just another message. This is the divine reckoning they didn't see coming. Let's dive deeper. Number 1, they thought it was just a harmless lie, but they unknowingly sparked a divine investigation. What seemed like a casual fib, a few twisted words whispered behind closed doors, opened the door to something far greater. The moment they slandered a chosen one, forces far beyond human sight began to take notice. They didn't grasp the magnitude of their actions. That lie didn't just echo in the ears of the person they told. It resonated in the spiritual realm, documented and registered. When someone speaks against a soul marked with divine purpose, heaven is all ears. There's no trivial drama when it comes to divine destiny. And that sneaky little lie activated an inquiry that transcends mortal understanding. Now they're feeling uncomfortable, restless, and distant. Not because you've confronted them, you haven't had to. You remain silent. But deep inside, they perceive it. Something shifted when they dared to speak against you. Many believe karma takes ages to unfold. Not always. Sometimes it arrives swiftly, not as punishment, but as exposure. The very people they tried to sway are now scrutinizing their narrative, piecing together facts, and watching you closely. The story they crafted doesn't align with the truth. They are not pulling away from you. They're withdrawing from themselves. That's what the liar failed to anticipate. The web of deceit began to unravel not just your character, but theirs too. They confidently thought they could sully your name and walk away unscathed. Instead, they now find themselves uneasy, jittery, avoiding you. It's not due to danger. It's because their lie triggered a chain reaction that spiraled out of their control. Heaven heard their falsehoods, and truth is now responding. They didn't merely lie, they initiated a divine audit. Every door that slams in their face, every sudden discomfort, every unexpected moment of exposure traces back to that single deceptive moment about you. Number 2, they lied about you to someone with real power. They believed they could smear your name in front of others and stroll away like they've likely done before. But this time, they made a grave error. They whispered your name into the ears of someone influential, someone possessing spiritual insight, someone who doesn't take things at face value. They expected blind belief, but instead, they sparked curiosity. Rather than being convinced, that person began to observe, quietly, closely. They watched how you carry yourself, how you treat others, and how you navigate life with peace, not bitterness. As they scrutinized you, the liar's narrative started to fall apart. The timelines mismatched, the details clashed, and the energy felt misaligned. Your name didn't resonate with the chaos they tried to import. It radiated peace, stability, and authenticity. Now, the liar is on edge. Shifts in energy are palpable, and they recognize they're being viewed through a different lens, not at all how they anticipated. Once the truth reveals itself, people begin to question everything, including the source of the lies. This is why they're avoiding you now, not due to busyness or having moved on, but out of fear. Fear that the person they confided in now sees through the veil of deception. They know they've made a mistake, yet they won't own up to it. Instead, they keep their distance, hoping that silence will somehow mask their wrongdoing. But it won't. They underestimated you. And even more critically, they underestimated the discernment of the person they thought they could mislead. Number 3, they can't face you because your very existence exposes their lies. They simply cannot confront you. Your presence alone reveals the truth of their falsehood. You didn't need to defend yourself or argue. You just kept being you, consistent, calm, unbothered. And that stark contrast is what's troubling to them. When someone lies, they anticipate chaos, a reaction from you, a chance to validate their narrative through your emotional turmoil. But when you remain steadfast, surrounded by grace and truth, that contrast becomes glaringly evident. Observers begin to compare your consistent actions against their unfounded accusations, and it gnaws at the liar. They're constantly reminded of how they misjudged you as they see you shine, while they wallow in shame. Facing someone when you've tried to harm them is incredibly challenging, especially when they've come out stronger and more grounded than before. The liar is now forced into a position where they must pretend nothing happened, while the truth lingers unspoken every time you cross paths. Their lies were meant to diminish you, but instead have only highlighted your true character. You didn't need to fight back. You simply persisted. You became the living proof of your own integrity, leaving them feeling more uncomfortable than any confrontation could have caused. You are the paradox they cannot rationalize away, making your mere presence impossible for them to bear. Number 4, they're scared that the person they deceived might be secretly aligning with you now. They aren't just avoiding you, they're also observing the observers. The one they misled isn't behaving as they expected. There's no blind allegiance, no frantic agreement, just an unsettling silence. And that silence is louder than any confirmation. Now doubting everything, the liar is filled with dread. Did the person truly believe me, or have I merely exposed my own deceit? That gnawing question is consuming them because manipulators thrive on feedback. They crave reaction to assess the effectiveness of their lies. But this time, they receive nothing. No gossip, no agreement, no whirlwind of chaos surrounding you. Just that eerie silence. And within that silence, the one they tried to manipulate is quietly watching you. They might not express it, but they're taking mental notes, observing your actions, studying your spirit, and beginning to realize that the narrative spun around you doesn't align with the person standing before them. That silence is the most dangerous position for a liar. The person they misled is processing information, pondering independently, neither spreading the falsehood nor outright shutting it down. They are simply absorbing reality with wide open eyes. The liar grows increasingly anxious, suspecting that the very person they sought to turn against you is now reconsidering everything. They might be feeling a sense of guilt, or even worse, preparing to disclose what was said. The very thought of this possibility is enough to propel the liar into retreat mode, not simply out of guilt, but because they sense their time is running out. You don't have to articulate a single word. Your silence speaks volumes. You remain a beacon of truth amid their storm of lies. And every day, they see you only amplifies the reality of what they tried to hide. Remember, you are God's chosen one, and truth always finds a way to shine through. Around the truth, they've built a wall, and now they're outside looking in. Their nerves are showing, not because they fear your confrontation, but because they're losing grip on their narrative. They're unsettled, realizing that they can't control the thoughts, the inquiries, or the inevitable reveals that lie ahead. The deception was attempted, but it failed to take hold. They're terrified they've orchestrated their own undoing, without you needing to lift a finger. Number 5, they lied to the wrong person. That individual was already suspicious of their word. What was meant to deceive instead unveiled their true nature. Little did they know, the person they deceived had been silently piecing together their inconsistencies, moments when their actions didn't align with their words. Then came your name, and everything changed. That moment they tried to disguise their hostility or feigned concern about you was not mere chatter. It was a spiritual examination, a divine setup. Your name was the catalyst that laid bare their true colors. The second they misrepresented who you are, a shift occurred. It affirmed the doubt that had been quietly festering. They inadvertently unveiled their mask, with you never even being there. Some may not speak much, yet they observe keenly. They notice tones and read energy. When your name was wrongly handled, something clicked. They understood if they could distort your truth, what else had they misrepresented? In that instant, the credibility of the liar began to falter, not due to your defense, but because they played their own hand openly. Now, that person keeps their distance, not from you, but from them. The liar senses it, and it leaves them unsettled. They thought they were recruiting an ally by spinning that lie, but instead, they just lost one. The connection they wished to steer fell into a colder, sharper silence. Deep down, they know it's because of that choice, the moment they weaponized your name. That's why they're keeping away now. It's not due to any threat you pose, but because they realize the poisoned person they tried to tarnish is now scrutinizing them with fresh eyes. They've revealed their jealousy, their bitterness, and their need to tear others down to elevate themselves. All of this conducted in front of someone whose regard they valued. So, they retreat, not out of guilt, but out of fear. When a mask slips in front of the wrong eyes, there's no putting it back in place. Number 6, their energy is too stained to be near your purity. After contaminating themselves with their lies, they can't bear to be close to you. It's not about fear in the way one might typically interpret. It's not because you're hostile or intimidating. You are neither. It's because their spirit struggles to coexist with your authenticity. When someone speaks falsely about a chosen one, they're not merely spreading falsehoods. They're corrupting their own essence. This act of deceit leaves behind a spiritual residue that clings to them like smoke left after fire. Their energy is tainted. Now, as they approach you, they can feel the discomfort in their spirit. Your presence is too clear, too honest, too aligned. You emit a frequency that is sacred and unwavering. While you're not perfect, the essence of your being carries an authenticity that lies cannot coexist with. So when they enter your aura, there's a subtle clash, not loud, but profoundly internal. They feel their stomach knotting, their chest tightening, their nerves crying out, not because of anything you are doing, but because your energy is revealing everything their guilt wants to stay hidden. It's not intimidation. It's an incompatibility they created and now cannot evade. They tainted their spirit when they chose to speak against you. Now, your presence acts like a spiritual mirror, reflecting everything they tried to conceal. And with you nearby, they're unable to distract themselves from it. They can't escape the shame they wished would dissipate. You unknowingly activate their inner conflict, buried guilt, and unresolved conscience. So, they stay away. Not because they've moved past it, not because they've forgotten, but because they feel exposed without you even engaging. Your purity highlights their impurity. Your peace aggravates their inner chaos. The longer they distance themselves, the clearer it becomes. They aren't avoiding you. They're avoiding the version of themselves that emerged from their attempts to ruin your reputation. This isn't a matter of fear. It's about energetic misalignment, one they've manifested and can't escape. Number 7, their lie boomeranged, awakening curiosity about you. They were convinced their deception would be your downfall. They thought that a mere mention of your name in a negative light would cause those around them to shun you without hesitation. They mistakenly believed their words held enough power to erase your essence, your truth. But as they spoke, the opposite unfolded before their eyes. Instead of distancing people, they inadvertently attracted them to you. That's the nature of lies told about chosen ones. They don't age well. The instant they attempted to tarnish your name, inquisitiveness bloomed among the listeners. Not everyone buys into the first narrative they hear. Many individuals think for themselves. When your name surfaced in a less than favorable context, rather than pulling back, they leaned in, observing your life, how you act, how you treat others. They began their own investigations, and what they found didn't align with the character the liar attempted to fabricate. They discovered someone remarkable, authentic, someone who contradicted the bitterness that the liar tried to impose. They witnessed your grace during hardships, your genuine nature, your reliability. Consequently, the spotlight shifted away from you as the supposed problem, and it turned ominously toward the one spinning the tale. Their resentment began to seem questionable. Their drama looked self-constructed. Their credibility unraveled. That's when the evasiveness began, not from the people, but from the liar, who realized they had lost control. The story didn't unfold as they anticipated. That lie they uttered, meant to diminish you, instead amplified your visibility. It piqued the curiosity of those who began to see the truth. The moment curiosity met reality, that lie was instantly dismantled. Now they are silent, retreating, distant, not because they are busily moving on, not because they've released it, but because they cannot withstand the realization that their own words set the stage for your emergence. The weapon they hurled not only failed, it illustrated their own insecurities and desperation. They aimed to diminish you, but what they did was draw others closer. Number 8, they knew their words had the power to harm you, but they underestimated your resilience. They didn't throw around your name carelessly. They weaponized it with intent. They aimed to inflict maximum damage, to shatter your confidence and disrupt your peace. They wanted to ruin your character, hoping that their words would echo through your life, leaving destruction in their wake. But what unfolded was a surprising twist. They underestimated your strength. Instead of faltering, you began to rise with grace and power. You didn't retaliate. You didn't diminish yourself. You didn't chase those who misunderstood you. Instead, you elevated your own existence. Your light shone brighter. Your mindset transformed. You walked through their smoke of sabotage, emerging untouched, cleaner than ever. This perplexed them deeply because they realized the gravity of their own words. They expected you to crumble under the weight of their calculated attack and await the fallout. Instead, no disaster arrived. You thrived. This kind of resilience is daunting, particularly for those who had pinned their hopes on your downfall. Every time they saw you, they were met with a reminder of their failure. Their most precise attempt at breaking you backfired, and now you stand as evidence of their defeat. They recognize now that nothing they try will stick, not lies, nor jabs, nor manipulation. They have lost their power over your life. That reality leaves them feeling disempowered. That's why they stay away, not from remorse, not from growth, but because your survival is a testament to their failure. You embody the proof that they could not disrupt what is divinely protected. Now, they are haunted by the truth. No weapon forged against you will ever prosper, not due to the weapon's validity, but because you embody strength that transcends their attempts. Number 9, they didn't merely lie. They forged a narrative as if they had divine authority over your character. They didn't just share gossip. They attempted to reconstruct your essence entirely. They painted you in colors of malice and deceit, manipulating you to suit their agenda. Their confidence knew no bounds, believing they could redefine who you are as if they were omnipotent, capable of stripping away your identity with mere words. But here's the reality of attempting to play the role of a deity with someone else's narrative. Truth has a beating heart. It thrives. It breathes. Regardless of how far they stretch their version of who you are, your genuine self continued to shine through vibrantly. Your compassion toward others, your integrity, your clarity, these elements of yourself persisted, contradicting the false narrative. As they sought to rewrite your story, the truth lived on, vibrant and undeniable. Warped perceptions faded against the brilliance of your consistent authenticity. Your story expands deeper than their lies. You are, and always will be, the embodiment of your own truth, shining, enduring, and powerful in the face of adversity. The light within you cannot be extinguished by the words of those attempting to define you. Each misstep they took further illuminates who you truly are. Through every version they created, your real essence prevails, teaching them that you stand unshaken in your truth. In your spirit, people felt calm and uplifted around you. This genuine energy clashed violently with the facade they attempted to present, and that dissonance is what began to crack them. They weren't merely deceiving others. They were lying to themselves. They needed to cling to their falsehoods to justify their treatment of you, to quell their guilt, and to feel powerful. But your authentic self wouldn't allow that lie to take root. As your true essence began to shine through, the fractures in their internal world widened. They couldn't bear the dissonance. Your light unveiled the shadows they'd cast, and that revelation was not just uncomfortable, it was destabilizing. They don't avoid you because they harbor hatred. It transcends anger at this point. They steer clear of you because your presence threatens the illusion they built to survive. Being near you compels them to confront their wrongdoings, their malice, even their jealousy. It jeopardizes the ego structures they've created to feel superior and in control. So they distance themselves, not because you are dangerous, but because you are real. And for someone who's built their comfort on deceit, reality has become unbearable. They attempted to erase your truth and replace it with their own narrative. But truth doesn't require permission to be revealed. It simply exists. And now, that truth is walking through the room wearing your face, while their carefully crafted stories crumble away. They're keeping their distance because they've come to realize you have what they would call the receipts, spiritually and literally. They assumed your silence was a sign of ignorance, which is what liars typically hope for. They thought you hadn't noticed the shifts, the deceit, or the setups, but they miscalculated. Your silence isn't passivity, it's a strategic awareness. You observed everything, heard every whisper, and pieced together the fragments. While they were caught up in their performances, you were quietly documenting, spiritually and literally. You've been holding back, not due to a lack of strength to speak, but because you understand the profound weight of what you carry. You have timestamps, patterns, and conversations etched into your memory, spiritual radar that remains finely tuned. You sensed betrayal before it even had a name, and now they are burdened with the knowledge of your understanding. They know you can present the evidence that could unravel their carefully curated facade. That is why they stay away, not out of guilt, but from a deep-seated fear of exposure. To them, you are a sealed vault containing everything they wished would remain hidden, a reservoir of evidence, both spoken and unspoken, that could flip their narrative and leave them amid the ruins of their own falsehood. You haven't needed revenge, nor felt the urge to publicly denounce them. Your restraint speaks volumes more than any confrontation could. And that restraint strikes fear into them because individuals like them are accustomed to swift reactions, to drama and chaos. Instead, you granted them silence, strategy, and time. In that space where their imagination runs wild, they wonder what might happen if you ever decided to unleash the truths you hold. They see your silence not as a weapon of peace, but as a looming threat. The very person they lied to has already reached out to you in private, and this is a twist they never anticipated. While they were preoccupied with tarnishing your name and weaving their fabricated account, a quiet unraveling was happening behind closed doors. The person they believed would unconditionally support them approached you, not with pretense, but with genuine humility. It may not have been a grand apology or an elaborate exposition, yet it rang true. It demonstrated that they had recognized the reality of the situation. Sometimes that recognition showed up in concise messages, a tangible shift in behavior, or unexpected support that indicated they no longer adhered to the lies. That subtle reconciliation changed the game entirely. The liar feels it, although they haven't been explicitly told. They sense the absence of loyalty once solidified. They feel the energy shift, the distance from someone they once manipulated with ease. They're not avoiding you because of anything you've uttered. They're avoiding you due to what has already been unveiled. That private apology, that gentle act of correction, serves as spiritual validation. Truth always gravitates toward those destined to hear it, with or without your intervention. You didn't need to campaign for your character or defend yourself in public. All you had to do was remain authentic, and in due course, time did the revealing. That private moment became a seismic shift in the landscape of the liar's world. The grip they once had on the narrative unraveled. The ability to weaponize another's loyalty disintegrated. Now, they keep their distance not just from you, but from others, as they can no longer control the environment. The alliances they once counted on have shifted to neutral or even turned in your favor, which terrifies them. When others start to independently recognize the truth, it holds immense and lasting power. Now, they are haunted, not by their actions, but by the cost of those actions. That lie has cost them trust, connection, and credibility. And deep down, they know they've lost more than they can ever regain. They're not fleeing because you pose a threat. They're evading you because at their core, they fear you'll treat them as they treated you. They know precisely how low they sank, how cruelty and calculation colored their actions. They remember the discussions they initiated, the narratives they nurtured, the bridges they tried to burn. And now they're plagued by a singular, haunting question. What if you retaliate? That's the twisted nature of projection. Individuals who thrive on manipulation naturally assume you would wield their methods against them, not because you've exhibited signs of such behaviors, but rather because they perceive your character through the distorted lens of their own. They anticipate revenge hidden within your silence, retaliation waiting in your tranquility. They consider your restraint temporary, believing that at any moment you'll mirror their actions. But here's what truly unravels them. You haven't retaliated. You haven't masterminded a smear campaign. You haven't lowered yourself to their level. That silence, that dignity, that's what is slowly killing them. They now find themselves spotlighted in the narrative they created. You're not the one making noise or chasing after drama. It's them, still entangled in their own bitterness, unable to move forward as you thrive in your peace. Your elevation only serves to amplify their despair. With every step you take into the light, their toxicity reverberates louder. They fear not just your words or potential exposures, but the reality that your silent strength has already accomplished everything necessary. By doing nothing, you've shown them everything. Your refusal to stoop to their level holds a mirror up to their behavior. They can't handle being around someone who remained steadfast, someone who didn't falter under betrayal, yet chose not to respond with malice. That resilience, it's not a sign of weakness, it's profound strength. It's the kind of power they'll never comprehend. For had they truly understood it, they never would have betrayed you in the first place. They believed they could outrun the truth, that if they spoke loudly enough, moved swiftly enough, and asserted their version first, others would take their words as gospel. They misinterpreted silent periods for eternal ease. But truth is patient. It doesn't rush. It doesn't panic. It knows that when the dust settles, it will rain. Now they are left restless, not just about the past, but the inevitable truth that looms on the horizon. They can feel it approaching, the slow, heavy shift as the false narratives they constructed begin to crumble under their own weight. They desperately tried to build a throne for lies and swathe it in drama, convincing others to bow down. But truth has quietly gathered strength, clarity, and witnesses now standing at the door, ready to reclaim its rightful place. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't have to defend yourself or compel others to recognize the truth. You are the evidence. You embody the weight of consistency, grace, and the undeniable presence of one who has no need for deception to shine. And that very truth terrifies them. They don't fear you personally. They dread the moment when the people they convinced begin to compare your actions with their accusations. When your fruits speak louder than their fabrications. When your growth illuminates their attempts to bring others down simply to feel significant. It's in that haunting moment that their narrative falters. They fear the truth reclaiming its throne, for when it does, everything they've sacrificed to sustain a facade will be laid bare. Relationships, credibility, trust. When truth reigns, there's no turning back. No way to twist the story ever again. So they withdraw, not because they've moved on, but because deep down, they know what's coming. They'd prefer to vanish before that moment arrives than face you and witness the collapse of everything they built in slow, excruciating motion. The truth always finds its rightful place, and your strength has illuminated the path clearly. They tried to dim your light, separating you from those who could have nurtured your growth. But instead of leading to your downfall, it turned into an opportunity for elevation. Not through seeking approval or retaliating, but by aligning with the divine purpose. Their falsehood didn't obstruct your blessings. It actually facilitated their arrival. By dragging your name through the dirt, they inadvertently cleared your path. The ones who were never truly on your side, the fair weather friends, those who faltered with every whisper of gossip, they all faded away. The energy vampires, the clout seekers, they were filtered out of your life. What remained were clarity, purpose, and strength. In that sacred space of solitude, you stopped explaining yourself and began to evolve. Instead of a plot for destruction, they set the stage for your acceleration. The lie became the lens through which you finally perceived who stood alongside you. It unveiled hidden adversaries and uncovered unexpected allies. While they anticipated your downfall, you were quietly being upgraded in wisdom, influence, and spiritual authority. That kind of radiance cannot be faked or undone. Now they can't approach you, not because you harbor bitterness or resentment, but because you've transcended the very space they tried to confine you within. Their deceit prompted you to rise higher. Their betrayal propelled you into your true purpose. Their manipulation backfired in such a magnificent way that even they can't deny the transformation in you. Deep down, they know that standing next to you now would reveal the truth without a single word uttered. This is the essence of divine vindication. When your adversaries inadvertently become the stepping stones for your upliftment, the weapons they wielded to harm you have turned into your testimony. You didn't just survive the slander, you outgrew it. Now, they're left contemplating a version of you they never imagined could exist. The contrast is striking. They attempted to cancel you, but instead, they propelled you to new heights. No falsehood is potent enough to erase what God intended for your elevation. That's why they maintain their distance. To confront you now would require them to acknowledge that they never held the power to shatter what heaven has already ordained for greatness. This is the reality they cannot escape. No matter how far they retreat from you, you have become the living proof that the lie was never as formidable as it seemed. You didn't need to expose them. You didn't have to defend yourself. Your mere existence is doing that work for you. And that's what's pushing them into a state of silence, distance, and confusion. because every time they catch sight of you, they are reminded of their failed predictions. They said you would collapse, but you ascended. They claimed people would abandon you, yet new souls emerged with pure hearts. They labeled you as dangerous, difficult, and unstable. But now, your serenity is the loudest declaration in any setting. Divine justice does not arrive in a cacophony of fury. Rather, it manifests with clarity, undeniable force, and humility. You didn't have to seize the crown. You allowed truth to sit unchallenged on its throne. And now, without lifting a finger, you walk in favor, awareness, and spiritual credibility that cannot be manipulated or feigned. Let this serve as your validation. You are not someone who can be defeated in the shadows. You are the one to whom truth inevitably returns, no matter how long it takes. Your ascent was never postponed. It was safeguarded. Their lies didn't thwart your destiny. They highlighted it. The treachery they inflicted didn't tarnish your name. It invigorated it. So stand tall, chosen one. Walk with grace, but do not diminish the justice unfolding around you. They keep their distance not because you pose a threat, but because your mere presence reminds them of a truth they desperately attempted to eliminate and failed. You embody the striking contradiction to everything they spread about you, and that contradiction is shining brighter than ever. You never needed revenge. You became the revelation. If this message resonates deeply within your spirit and feels like it's narrating your journey, don't keep it to yourself. Engage with God's chosen one so you can receive more powerful revelations tailored for individuals like you. Show your support by affirming this truth needs to reach a wider audience. Share your experience below. Your voice could be the encouragement someone else has been seeking. Spread this message to those who have faced betrayal, spiritual battles, or silent struggles. Remind them they are not alone. They are chosen. This isn't merely a channel. It's a rallying point for the awakened. Let's continue to rise, shine, and elevate together. Your story is valuable. Your truth is on the rise, and your light radiates far too brightly to be dimmed. Stay engaged, stay strong, and stay connected with God's chosen one, for your most remarkable chapters have yet to be written. God bless you.